Hello and welcome to another tutorial. Today this is less about Rivet, but we will use Rivet. So for anyone who doesn't know Rivet, it's a visual programming tool. It's very nice for prototyping, for quickly testing out some ideas. And today we will use it to create a teachable agent. And I mean, a teachable agent is nothing completely new. So I'm looking here at the autogen project on GitHub. And yeah, they have this as a skill that you can add to agents. But the thing is, I mean, maybe it's always nice, you can use their project, you can test it, but first of all, you need code. But second of all, maybe you want to understand it. And to understand it, the best thing is to build it yourself, to see it for yourself, to play for it with yourself. And that's why, yeah, I just rebuilt their project basically in Rivet. So thanks to the autogen team, because I'm heavily relying on what they've done as a starting point. So this is not my idea or how I do things, but it's pretty cool. And we will also be using their examples they have in here. So let's go to Rivet and I will just show you first, before we even do anything else, what this means. So the idea is that basically we can talk to an agent and that agent will remember things, not just in our current session, but really long term. And it's not like we just save all the chat history. That's also not what we do. So we are not making the context bigger and bigger all the time and give it all the information and hope it stays. So it's smarter than that. It knows it actually will save only certain information and will also retrieve that information only when necessary. But what does that mean? Let's just check it out. So let's run this first. This is just a chat loop, which is extended a bit. And we will start by an example that is also provided by autogen. Basically, what we want ChatGPT to do is, or any other LLM actually, it doesn't have to be ChatGPT, there is no function calling or any of that involved, is we want a summarization of an abstract here. And of course, if we do this, ChatGPT can do this. And yeah, now it did a summarization. The point is, this is maybe not the way we want it summarized. Maybe we have a certain structure. And that's where now teachability comes into place, because now we can go ahead and actually tell it how we want to have it done. So let's also copy that in. Oh, what did I do there? Sorry. Let's copy that in. And now we are still asking for the summarization of the abstract, but also we are stating that we want 3 short bullet points: the title, the innovation, and the key empirical results. And we are giving it the abstract again. And let's do it. And wait for the result. Yeah, we can already see it here. Yeah, now we have our, I mean, that's not surprising, but it's just now at the moment we are just handling the chat history, so it just knows from our previous message that we just sent in that it's supposed to know that. So there's nothing special about it yet. But we can now press abort, and this graph is built that we are not having any permanent chat history. This is just an in-session loop where the chat history is being kept in the session. So now we have no chat history. And let's go back to our first prompt. So let's go back in and let's ask it to summarize the text. But let's not mention how the summarization is supposed to look, and let's see what happens. So, and as we can already see down here, we are getting title, innovation, and key empirical results. And now let's see if this is also general knowledge and it actually knows what it's doing, or it just knows it for this one case. So let's maybe restart everything and let's run again and let's ask for another summarization of completely different text it didn't see before. So now this is basically, I mean, we are still asking for the summarization, but this is kind of a new task. Let's go ahead. And we can see it generates title, innovation, and so on. So basically, with one simple example, we taught it a skill or a certain way of doing things, and now it can apply it. I think this is pretty cool. So let's go a bit into the details how this works. So for this, we'll first take a look into the data studio before we even dive into what's happening in detail. Because we can see that we now have two tables here, teachable agent inputs and outputs. And what it does is basically every time we give it a prompt, it goes through a series of steps to analyze it and to find out if there is anything that should be saved. And for this, let's just look at this line here. For example, here we have now a task description here, which is the task described in the text is to create a concise summary of an abstract by including only 3 key points. And for this, we also have an output. So this ID here is connecting it to an output value. And now we have the advice from the text that may be used for similar but different tasks in the future is to make the summary of an abstract contain just 3 short bullet points. So what we have is here, we have some information saved. And this, as you can see, is not really what we typed into. This is something that was changed a bit to fit the format. And let's actually do one more example to make it a bit more clear. Let's tell it, hello, my name is Tim, please remember that. Because it can also save normal information and then it chooses another format. So let's take a look at that. So for example, now it generated a question to be asked. How can I ask you for this information? And an answer for that question. Hello, my name is Tim. It's, to be honest, a bit odd, which is probably because we are using ChatGPT 3.5 for doing those subtasks. So it's not always working that fine. But the point is, we are now generating basically content for retrieval augmented generation. So what is happening now? Before ChatGPT is giving us an answer, is that every single time we are doing a retrieval. And for this retrieval, let's actually do another prompt to make that more clear. So let's go back to please summarize an abstract, then it is easier to see. Now, if we look at this here, ChatGPT is not just getting its, sorry, I have to get rid of that, not just getting its short system prompt that it's a helpful assistant and can learn new things from the user, but it's also getting memories, some memories that might help. And there's like one memory, a second memory, and they are from the vector search. So, and they are trying to map as best as possible the current task. So for example, here in the second place, we also have what we looked at before, that this is the how to handle summaries. And this is now how ChatGPT knows that this, in this case, this makes sense to use it. And so basically what we have is we have a self-modulating or self-changing system prompt, if you want, depending on the context. And the interesting thing about this is we can now teach it a lot of tasks, thousands of tasks, and it will always find the most fitting solutions that are already saved for it. So instead of writing a gigantic system prompt, which might even confuse the bot, we can give it just some examples, and it will learn them, and then it will also automatically retrieve them. But for that, let's finally look into the results. So I hope you can still follow me because it is a bit complicated, but let's look at two graphs, actually not graphs, but diagrams. Because this is actually, this is what's happening when we want to store information. What does it mean? At the moment, every user request is being analyzed to potentially being stored. So our user request, for example, please summarize me this text, do it this way, and here is the text, goes into, first of all, is being checked for, does any part of the text ask the agent to perform a task or solve a problem? So there is like two lanes now. One is yes, this is, and then this is a lane for there is a task in it or something it can be learned, and this is there is just other information in it. And if there's a task in it, what it now does is basically it extracts the task and writes a very, very generalizing summary out of it. I mean, the results are not that great, as you saw. I think this is, as I said, because I'm not using GPT-4 in the pipeline at the moment. But that's basically what it's doing. And then it's creating a task advice pair. So it has a generalization of the task, and then it has some details on how to do that task. And that was the input and the output we saw before. And in the other case, if it's not a task in the text, then it checks if there's other information that should be memorized. And if yes, it is actually going to write a question to be able to retrieve that information. And then it's saving the question and the answer. We saw that with the name example. I mean, the question was a bit odd again, but generally this is how it works. And let's go for this to Rivet. We can just see for this, we have this subgraph in here. So everything the user writes goes here. And we also have like an on-off switch for making the agent teachable or not, so that we can actually, if he can do his task well, we can just put this on off, and now it will not change its behavior or learn new things. I think that's a pretty nice thing. So you could even pre-train an agent and then give it to other people and to work with it, and they cannot change it anymore because you just have a switch for that. So that's the tiny change I made that is not in Microsoft Autogen actually. Okay, so let's look into this. So I don't want to go into the details because this is basically now the representation in Rivet of the diagram I've just been showing you. So we are actually first checking if teachable is true. So if this value is set, and only then we are going to do something. And now we are setting it, doing lots of small requests to ChatGPT 3.5. So let's just look into one or two. And let's look at the system prompt first. We are talking now to some text analyzer. So you are an expert in text analysis. The user will give you text to analyze and instructions. And if we go in here, for example, we are putting together the instructions like this. So we are asking, does any part of the text ask the agent to perform a task or solve a problem? Answer with one word, yes or no. And then we are giving the user input. And actually, that's what autogen does. They are repeating the instructions to make it even more clear that it should adhere to them, I think. May not be necessary, I'm not sure. And then, all that this does is it's going to ChatGPT with temperature of 0 because we really wanted to stick to our answer. And it, for example, returns a yes. And I mean, basically that is all that is relevant for this because we are now following this tree. We have a match node. So for yes written in any way, we are going to the next subgraph, which is now this, there is a task or advice included. So we are going to analyze that and processing through that. Or we are going to this no check for information lane. And yes, I will not open all that. But, and this is only an example taken right from autogen. I think there is so much potential here to probably improve on that and change it. But it's cool to have, like a working start. And at the end, what we are doing is we are, no matter if we were in the yes or the no lane, we are getting those two pairs of information. So let's maybe do the example with a name so it's clearer to see. Let's run this graph only with some standard values. So we have the my name is Tim input. And we can now see we have this question answer pair here. My name is Tim. And answer, other way around, sorry, this is the answer, my name is Tim. And the question was, how can I ask you for your name? That is what the AI extracted from my original query. And then we are going to store this. And just as a small remark, I would really highly recommend not to store data in the Rivet Data Studio. if you are going to do more than prototyping, because it's just not made for that, and the performance gets really bad after a short while. But for short testing, I mean, and being able to see the data, it's a great thing to do. So, but basically what we are doing here is we are just spraying this in the vector database, and there's other videos. I have 2 videos on retrieval augmented generation, so I will not go into the details here. The only special thing we are doing is we are saving the input only in the vector database, so only the question or the generalized task, because that is what we are searching on, and the output is going to a separate database, as we saw, and we are connecting both of it by the same ID. So if the data set is coming here, we are putting this ID here as input to our output database, and so that is how we can later reconnect the data. And let's then look at the output, the retrieval process, which is also just using our input and then directly going to the system prompt. We also have a diagram for that. Basically, what it's doing, we are looking for the memos. Let's actually see. Yeah, this graph is not perfect, which ChatGPT created here. We have a generalized part. We are always looking for exactly what the user wrote in and just doing a vector search for that, and then retrieve those question answer pairs. And then additionally to that, so this is, the graph here is not completely correct, or the diagram, we are again doing this process of sending it through parts of the pipeline. In this case, it's only the pipeline to check for a task. And why is that? Because we want to enhance the search. So if we gave it the whole, let's actually look into Rivet again. If we are now in the retrieval and we are giving it this input here with the please create a summary, then of course we can do a vector search for this, but this will probably match a lot of things. So many things which might not even be relevant. And if we run this and we are doing this small analyzing again of creating a summary of the tasks and so on, we are actually getting, instead, we are getting the task as, what's the generalized task here? The task is described in text to create a summary. So now our search string is not anymore this whole example with what text to summarize. It's really just the task. And now we can do a vector search on that. And actually the results we can also see here is then we are immediately hitting the correct, this is the, actually they're not sorted the way I wanted to. It's strange that they're not sorted. But we are hitting the correct entries more likely than searching for the whole string. But what it actually does is we are still merging, so we are doing a dump search. We are using a dump in the sense of using the whole user input here, and we are doing a search for the task only, and then we are putting those together and we are deduplicating it and then reformatting it here into those input, output, and similarity informations, and then putting that together with the system prompt. Yeah, so basically that's it. I think this is really cool because, yeah, as I said previously, you don't need to write any system prompts. You can just use this and you can show it examples, how it should do certain things, and you can teach it. And then you put this to thoughts and you have a working agent. And you can do this for lots of cases. So it's kind of similar to the semantic routing I have another video about, but instead of going to different versions of ChatGPT with different system prompts, we are now having a dynamically adapting system prompt, which is also a very interesting solution, I think, for lots of scenarios, not just this teachability. Yeah. The only thing is, don't try to use this to build a personalized assistant, because that is something where we need to do it a bit differently. That is the likes of MemGPT. And this is also something I will do a video on very shortly. I mean, as we saw, it has really issues with saving those informations like who I am or this name correctly. So if I ask it who I am, for example, it's probably not working. But let's see. Yeah, It just gives me most random stuff. He doesn't know my name. It didn't realize it, and also the difference here between a, let's say, a personalized agent and a teachable agent is that this agent only knows what you prompted, as I showed you. All the what's additionally being added to system prompt always depend on what you write. So if you don't even ask about your name, there's no chance at all it would know it. And that is kind of where it will be different. But yeah, stay tuned for another video. We will also build a personalized assistant, and maybe we can also combine both of them and see how that works. And yeah, before I end the video, one more note. I made my files now available on GitHub, so the links in the videos are always going to my GitHub repository now, where you can find all the Rivet projects I've done. There's also a description down here where you can find out which video is correlated to which file. And for, I don't know, for non-GitHub users, it's still pretty easy to use. So you can either, even though it's written code here, you can either press this button and download zip to get all the tutorials, or let's say you are interested in one, for example, this new one, Teachable Agent, you can click on it, and then you can press, let me actually zoom out a bit so that I see the normal buttons. Okay, that's the graphics, sorry, that's why I don't see it. Then you can press this download raw file button here, and it will download the file, and then you can just use it. So super simple, and now there's one place where everything is. I hope this will come in handy. Okay, please, as always, like and subscribe and comment, and see you in the next video.